Hello, and welcome. I'm Alec Rush, and you're listening to the Ohio State Animal Sciences Podcast, the show where we take a topic out from the large, encompassing umbrella term animal science and do our best to break it down and understand it. Today's subject is a very important one, and it has special significance for this podcast. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Okay, so what do you think when you hear nutrition? Personally, I think, I need to eat better. I think about that food pyramid with carbs and fruits and vegetables and how I think they changed it at some point. It used to have blocks with the different food groups, but now I think it's more like stripes. You get the idea. The point is, I think about human nutrition, but animal nutrition is a hugely important concept in the livestock world. Animals have to be fed, and if we want our animal products like milk, meat, and eggs to be any good, they have to be fed well. So how do we know what's good for animals? Well, this is a particular strength of the Ohio State University, which makes it a special topic for this show to cover. Our institution is very prominent in the field of animal nutrition. We're at the forefront of some very important research in this area that helps us understand exactly what animals need to be the most productive. So let's dive in. We're going to explore a couple topics. First, we'll cover the basics. What are the types of nutrients all animals need, and what do they do? How is this similar to human nutrition? Next, we'll discuss who decides the guidelines for animal nutrition. Something very important to keep in mind is how vital nutrition is economically in the context of livestock farming. Nutrition accounts for up to 70% of the cost of animal production. This sounds like a lot, but it makes sense when you think about it. If you're raising animals, you have to pay for land and equipment and things like that, but feeding them is really your only everyday, consistent expense aside from labor. Because of this, not only do we feed animals exactly what they need because it's what's good for them, but because of the economic incentive to do so. The more precise we are with nutrition, the better the animal is fed, the better the product is, whether that's milk, meat, or eggs. In other words, we're giving nutrients to animals so that they can later give them back to us. And ideally, we're optimizing the amount of nutrition we give them that makes it back to us in the form of product. So now that we've established how important it is that animals eat, let's find out what they need to eat and why. There are 6 classes of nutrients: water, carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins, and minerals. These are the same types of nutrients we eat as well. Water is pretty self-explanatory. Animals are mostly made of water, and so they need it to survive and perform many processes in the body. Carbohydrates are a big source of energy, which I'll get to soon. Protein is essential for tissue and muscle production, as well as milk production. Protein is generally the most expensive class of nutrient. Fats, or lipids, can provide energy, like carbohydrates, and can also store energy. Vitamins are organic substances that are needed in relatively lesser amounts. They do a variety of things. Minerals are inorganic substances also needed in small amounts. These are things like calcium and potassium. In addition to these 6 classes of nutrients, another important concept is energy. This isn't technically a nutrient, but it's one of the main reasons animals, humans included, need food. We need energy to function and survive, and we get that from the things we eat. Plants, on the other hand, don't have to eat, but rather they get their energy from the sun. And since animals eat plants, or eat other animals that eat plants, this means that all energy originally comes from the sun. In this way, nutrition is a very important part of the larger ecosystem. So obviously, the things we eat are different from the things animals eat, but it turns out that on a small enough scale, we pretty much need the same things in terms of nutrients. However, the goals of human and animal nutrition are somewhat different. We feed ourselves to stay alive and healthy. This is true for animals as well, but we also feed animals to optimize the products they provide us. So now we have a general idea of what animals need. But who makes sure that the animals get all that? Do farmers need to calculate the exact amount of nutrients each animal requires? What if some new research comes out that changes what we know about a certain animal's diet? The answer is that there's actually a group of people that makes these decisions. It's a partially government-funded group called the National Research Council, and it meets every 15 years to decide on the nutrition guidelines for animals. As you can imagine, this is a very important job, and because of that, the council is composed of experts. And not to brag even more, but some faculty from The Ohio State University have been leaders on this very council. I wasn't lying earlier when I said that nutrition is one of our department's strong suits. The guidelines the committee creates aren't like human nutrition guidelines, like the food pyramid or nutrition information on the side of food packaging. Unlike humans who choose what they eat, animals pretty much eat whatever they're given. So there's no need to persuade them to eat healthily because we can give them feed with the exact nutrients they need, and that's that. So when this committee makes the guidelines, they don't do it for the farmers, but rather the feed manufacturers. That way, when the animals are fed, they're getting what they need. This process is the same not only for livestock, but for pets as well. The committee sets the standard for the ideal diet for dogs and cats, and that information is in turn used for making dog and cat food so that your pet can stay healthy. And with that, I hope you have a better understanding of nutrition and its importance in animal science. We're going to stop there for today, but we're actually not quite done tackling this topic. In the next episode, we're going to dig a little deeper into some specifics, like how are we feeding our animals in a way that's sustainable? And how is nutrition different for different kinds of animals? And what is a ruminant? But until then, I'm Alec Rush, and this has been the Ohio State Animal Sciences Podcast. Thanks for listening.